Hey there everybody, PTPOP here, leading you out of the rabbit hole, one grain of truth at a time. And today I've got a great video for you. This one is another TikTok video, but it contradicts everything I have said about call center supervisors up to this point. There's a young man here on TikTok who I wish he was one of my supervisors in the past, because I'd work for this guy. Because I think he'd be fair, and I think he would be able to feel for his employees and try to put himself in our shoes. He'd be empathetic, I believe. And I've asked this gentleman to talk to me about being in my documentary, and he's agreed. He's at least going to talk with me about it. So his name is that_Reggie_guy, and this video that he's in is titled Biggest Lesson from Being a Call Center Supervisor. Let me bring it up here.
It's not what you think. There's a lot of lessons to be learned by working in a call center. But by far, being a supervisor in a call center, for a large corporate healthcare organization, there's one lesson about people that I've learned that just sticks out above everything else. And it's a lesson that you can use not just in work, but in life, in friendships, when you meet new people. It's just something to keep in mind and just know, okay? When you work with somebody, or when you meet somebody, or you're made aware of someone's existence, whatever, the lesson I learned is everybody has had an entire life before they met you. Assuming you're not twins or like childhood besties. Everyone you meet as an adult has had an entire life before you ever even knew they existed. And what I mean by this is I've had countless employees that come into this call center. Some of them struggle a lot. Some of them do really, really well. Some of them avoid work and do inappropriate things or things that lack integrity. There's all types of people that have all types of different areas of performances and strengths and weaknesses and everything like that.
And I think this is great for him to recognize that, because I can't begin to tell you, and he'll go on to illustrate this, but he'll go on to talk about it. And it's amazing when you go in to a company, especially a call center. And I have a professional background in telecommunications. I used to work in cellular, I worked in customer service, I worked as a circuit designer, and I worked as a technical services manager for major corporations in the United States. And when I would walk in these call centers and I'd tell them what my background was, they didn't seem to give a crap. They didn't care I was a professional. They just treated me like everybody else. And, you know, I could be wrong, but this guy seems like he would hear what I'm saying, and maybe he would approach me differently. Maybe he would say, hey, this guy's he's got some polish and some panache. Maybe I can work with this guy. You know, I always thought that somebody would say, hey, this guy's professional, he's well-spoken, he's educated. Maybe I shouldn't ride him so hard. Not that I should get any favoritism, but I have a good work ethic. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter in these call centers. And this guy seems to have a good handle on what he's talking about. And you'll hear what he has to say here.
But they've all had a whole life before they came there. I've had someone who struggled so hard to learn a call center, but before that, they managed a travel agency for 30 years. Mm-hmm. And it was like a 6-figure agency. Easily, maybe 7. They never really discussed it, but it was a pretty big agency. I had someone that worked under me, older gentleman. He was the CEO of his own company for 40 years before retiring, coming to the call center. I've had young people come into the call center that before they got there, I've had someone on my team who had a PhD, or I'm sorry, they had a master's degree. They were working in a call center while they were waiting to get into their PhD program. And you only learn these things about people by talking to them and getting to know them.
So that's the thing, is that this guy said that he only finds these things out by getting to know the people that work underneath him or beneath him. I have yet to know anybody in the call centers in a supervisory position get to know me, or sit down with me and say, hey, what do you do in your spare time, or what did you do before this, or, you know, what's your wife do, or where do you live, or, you know, do you like to watch horror movies? Do you read classic novels? Nothing. I've told people I'm a songwriter, and they always ask you this stuff in training class. Okay, everybody stand up at one at a time and tell us about yourself, and tell us one thing you'd never guess. You'd never guess that somebody could never guess about you, you know. And I always say, well, you would never guess I'm a songwriter, and, you know, all the things that I do. But after training, no one ever mentions it. Supervisors don't care. And this guy, he's aware of this stuff. And this is, you know, I wrote to him on TikTok and said, why couldn't you have been my supervisor at all the call centers I had before this? And, you know, he's a lot younger than me. No offense, dude, but somebody who has that kind of sensitivity and awareness at your age is rare. I think it's rare. Because I don't think I even had it at your age. But let's continue here.
This about anybody that they work with and their employees. They only know what they're doing on this particular job. And I've always found it fascinating that there's so many different examples I could give you of things that people have done before I knew of them or before they worked for me. And if you keep that in mind about people and you kind of like just know that, especially if you're supervising or managing them, it's easier to connect with them because you have to respect that about them. Like, At first comes acknowledging that they have that whole life before you knew them or worked with them. And then you have to respect that because they have their strengths. There was an area that they were the expert. And I think I don't know, I've found it to be an incredible experience over the years working at a call center, getting to know so many people with so many different backgrounds, that it's an interesting thing and an interesting concept to kind of process and think through, that everyone had a life before you knew they existed. They had a whole life, a whole career, everything. I mean, I've met people that have had whole entire careers and families and almost died 3 times, and now they're working in a call center and they work for me. And if I only focus on the things that they're doing on that job, they're never going to trust me.
No.
They're never going to perform at their peak for me. You got to take the time to get to know your people and know what they were capable of before they came to you. Because that's how you're going to help them get through what they're struggling with now, if they're struggling. Yeah, all right, that's it. Just something I wanted to share.
And see, I think that's brilliant, because I'm telling you, no one has ever sat down with me and gotten to know me. Probably because there's not time, probably because they don't care. They're just trying to make the numbers that the people above them are pushing down their throats. And I can tell you, I'm the kind of guy that if you give me a pat in the back and you treat me like a decent human being, I'll do anything for you. But if you're just an absolute a-hole to me all the time, constantly writing me up, threatening me with pips, putting me on pips, telling me I've taken too many bathroom breaks, or whatever it happens to be, I'm just going to start looking for another job. I just don't want to be like that. I don't want to work for somebody like that, because a lot of people who become supervisors and they get the supervisor hat, they begin to think they have to be like little Hitlers. There's a stigma that they think they have to live up to. They have to be, you know, tyrannical, iron-fisted. And that's all a stereotype that's portrayed in movies and stuff. Because most of us, especially here in America, we live in a fantasy world. The fantasy world that's programmed into our brains through Hollywood. And we all think love is one thing and friends are another thing, and becoming a supervisor is another thing, because it's all conditioned, what we see in the movies. And we think, well, we've got to be like Dabney Coleman in 9 to 5. You know, if you've ever seen that movie, Dabney Coleman is the misogynistic, sexual boss who's always trying to get in the pants of Lily Tomlin and Dolly Parton and all that stuff. And a lot of guys and gals that get in that position think they have to be like that. And I've seen it personally. I've seen people just act like complete a-holes just because they're a supervisor. I guess they think they have the inalienable right to be like that. And so I think this guy, I think that Reggie guy, and Reggie, if your name is Reggie, that's brilliant, dude. I mean, I would work for you. If you sat down with me and said, hey, let's talk about your documentaries. Oh, what kind of songs do you write? Oh, let me go listen to those. Somebody that took an honest interest in me. And a guy like this probably has at least 30 people underneath him. You know, maybe he's got less than that, maybe 15. And then he takes the time to get to know everybody. Oh, hell yeah, I'll come work for you. Are you here in Ohio, dude? I mean, I don't know, but that's the biggest lesson that he learned as a call center supervisor, and I think it's a great lesson. Let me know what you think. Have you ever had a supervisor who sat down with you and said, hey, where are you from? What's your favorite color? Do you like pizza? You know, what did you do before this? Oh, you used to work in construction? Oh, what was that like? You know, I've never had it. Never. There are people that have been, I've had like 2 good supervisors in a call center in my life, but they didn't really take a lot of time to get to know me. So let me know what you think. Give me the thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you later. Hasta la vista, baby.